Figure out your intake, and you'll spend half the money in marketing and get twice the results, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if I could just kind of piggyback off that, because you said how frustrating is it for us, and how do we handle that? And kind of what I said earlier about we have very constant communication with our clients. Like every time we get on a Zoom call with our clients, we go through this stuff. We go through the analytics of the website, through the calls and all that stuff, and it's a very humbling relation experience to them when we show up. Okay, well, you had 50 phone calls last week, but 25 of them all went to voicemail. The other ones, do you want to listen how your intake was? Because I wouldn't hire you if this person answered this way. And just Travis's point, whether it's the mother-in-law or even worse, hey, I listened to this phone call. This sounds like a really good case. What do you think? And the attorney listens to it, and he's confused as to why his intake said we don't take those kind of cases, or referred them to another lawyer in the area when he's like, holy crap, that we take those cases, right? So it's an educational tool for one, and more importantly, most like Travis said, they've got all these hats to wear. Most of them just assume the phone's being answered correctly or well, or in a way that they'd be happy with. And not to say that that happens all the time, but there's always room for improvement. And we approach it with like, look, this isn't here to get somebody in trouble or get somebody fired, but I think that there's some lessons to the best way to handle these intakes. One thing I tell them, like your staff's job when they get that phone call is typically not to educate them, not to answer a ton of questions, but to get them on the calendar for you. You want to book an appointment. And I've listened to 10 minutes of a paralegal or a receptionist going through all sorts of stuff, and at the end it's like, okay, well, I appreciate it, thanks. Like you didn't do your job. Like your job is to get the attorney scheduled, right? So those types of things. But it all stems to, we have the analytics and the tools to show them what we're delivering, and if the ball is being dropped, we can show that to them. And in most cases, whether it's an eye opener or not, it's a thankful conversation because they had no idea.
So I know this story from kind of, I know some back channeling, so I'm not going to mention the firms,